And now, Nathaniel Lee recaps Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All of it. The thing you need to understand about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is it is heavily invested in continuity. It cares about everything that happens in it, even if you don't see it yet. Almost every plot point comes back in some form or another. Even if it takes forever, it will come back, because this show is dedicated to building a fully fleshed out universe. Even if said universe refuses to acknowledge the series exists. Come on, Age of Ultron, the Avengers are hanging out in a facility built by S.H.I.E.L.D. and they still don't know Coulson's alive? And while we're at it, where were the Avengers when a man who could control minds was terrorizing New York? And why did no one try to recruit the bulletproof brother in Harlem? This connected universe does not feel very connected. Before we dive in, let's make sure we're all on the same page. This is Agent Phil Coulson. He works for an organization that's existed since the 50s, but only just realized it had the perfect acronym staring it in the face.
I'm Agent Phil Coulson with the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
Or maybe he's an idiot. I don't know. An organization, despite nobody having ever heard of, has a huge gigantic office building in the middle of America's capital. Very covert. Anyways, Phil shows up to talk to Iron Man, and if you don't know who he is, I can't help you. While he's there, he's helpful, until he has to fight a robot dude, being he's a little out of his depth. He gets to say S.H.I.E.L.D., and we say bye. Whew. Hope we don't have to deal with that guy again, am I right? What's this? Despite only existing to say a single word, Marvel decided they really liked this guy, so he shows up in Iron Man 2 to help Tony with some stuff. Now, he's a little more interesting. He's like that guy that seems like a nerdy pushover, but secretly practices Krav Maga and can break your arm. He's put in charge of making sure Iron Man doesn't leave his house. But he does it anyway. So Phil abandons the movie to go to New Mexico, where he will never be seen again. Are you stalking me? What are you doing in a completely different film series? That's right, Phil leaves Iron Man 2 and poofs into Thor, thus solidifying the connection between the Marvel movies. Unless you count Robert Downey Jr.'s cameo in the Hulk movie, but we don't talk about that. But this isn't a cameo. Coulson is essentially the bad guy. He ropes up Thor's hammer, steals research from Thor's girlfriend, and has his friends beat Thor up and tie him to a chair so he can do an evil monologue. And oh look, it's Hawkeye. Eventually it all gets sorted out, and he lets Thor go, and then he turns back into that nerdy guy from those other movies who complains that Tony doesn't tell him anything. Oh, and Thor calls him Son of Cole, because Thor is stupid. He also gives his girlfriend her stuff back because, well, are you gonna piss off the guy who shoots lightning? After that, I'm sure that's the last we'll ever see of Phil. I'm not even going to finish that. That's right, there he is, in the Avengers. He's done everything he was meant to do. He hangs out with Tony, he creeps on Captain America, and he's buddies with his new BFF Thor. Attaboy, Phil. You deserve a pat on the— Oh my god! Yes, tragically, Thor's brother, who really needs a better way to deal with his anger, kills our beloved Phil. He went from a nerd, to a scary spy villain, to an adorable nerdy guy that everybody loved, to being the sacrificial lamb that would birth the Avengers. That's right, Phil's death rallies the Avengers, and they save the world. We can never forget our fallen hero. What was his name again?
His name was Phil.
Right, thanks. And now we can finally talk about the reason I made this video. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We open with this guy, Grant Ward. He's boring, but he's really good at dealing with action scenes, so he's recruited to a new special S.H.I.E.L.D. team led by— Dun Dun Dun! That's right, Coulson is back. If only someone had told me in every trailer for the show. He recruits Ward because apparently Phil is drawn to moody people, like this person, May. She's a friend of Coulson's and had clearly written on her, has a tragic past. But all she has to do is drive the bus, so she joins the special team. They're also joined by Simmons, who I'd say is basically Hermione, except she beats me to it.
Listen, I'm not Hermione.
The thing is, she's a biologist, and really smart. And this is her best friend, Fitz. He's the best goddamn character in the show, and I will fight you if you disagree. He's a mechanical genius. With their powers combined, they are Fitzsimmons. Trademark. So, the team's first mission is to locate this guy, Mike Peterson, an average man that can survive explosions. Because he's not an average man, he's a superhero. A mentally unstable one that might blow up. You see, Mike was a test subject for an experiment run by this chick, Raina. She works for someone called the Clairvoyant, which you'd think would mean he can see the future, but nope, nobody can see the future. It's impossible. For now. Anyway, Mike goes crazy and S.H.I.E.L.D. has to stop them, which they do with the help of a hacker and blogger named Daisy Sky. Sorry, Sky, not Daisy. Coulson is impressed by her ability to break the law and be sassy while doing it, so she joins the team, and Mike is never seen again. Right. So this intrepid team travels all around the world fighting bad guys and saving the day, like the time they fought this guy. His name's Quinn, and he's like an evil Tony Stark. He's abducted this guy, Dr. Hall, because Hall discovered this stuff called gravitonium that can do all kinds of weird stuff. Quinn wants to use it as a weapon and make mad stacks, yo, so S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in to stop him and rescue Dr. Hall. Except Dr. Hall's gone a little cuckoo and doesn't trust S.H.I.E.L.D., so he decides to turn the gravitonium into a bomb and bury it. But this would result in a lot of people dying, so Coulson heroically pushes Hall into the gravitonium, and he is seemingly gone forever. Or is he? Psst, you need to remember all this for later, it's super important. Along the way, we learn some things about our cast. Fitz is clearly in love with Simmons, but she has no idea. May's dark backstory is she was forced to kill a superpowered child because she had mind control powers and had gone to her head. Ward was abused by his mother and his older brother, who forced him to abuse his younger brother. Pretty dark. Skye was an orphan and has no idea who her parents are, but knows that a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent dropped her off at the orphanage. And it turns out, Coulson really did die, and was brought back under mysterious circumstances that he doesn't remember, but he knows he was in Tahiti, a magical place. Eventually, we learn a few things. Skye has alien DNA, and her parents are apparently monsters who killed a whole village. Coulson has never been to Tahiti. Turns out Tahiti is the name of a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. project that uses alien DNA to bring people back from the dead, but it makes them go crazy, so they brainwash them to make them forget. And May knew the whole time. But we can't focus on that because we have movie tie-ins. That's right, this TV series is connecting with the movies, but not really. It's not like Thor shows up. They just have cleanup duty in a place he fought the Ninth Doctor in, and meet another Asgardian. Like I said, the movies don't really connect with the series. This is a tie-in to Captain America Winter Soldier, but I doubt anything really important happens there. Oh yeah. Turns out that a secret society of Nazis called Hydra has been a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. since the beginning, and they want to take over the world. Luckily, Captain America and friends saves the day, and it turns out Clairvoyant is actually a Hydra agent working for S.H.I.E.L.D. This guy, Bill Paxton, aka Garrett. Who's Garrett? Well, he trained this guy Trip, who would become a recurring character and all-around nice guy. He also trained Ward, but I'm sure that can't lead to anything shocking. Holy crap! Yes, only halfway through the season, the writers decided to give Ward a personality by making him a sociopathic monster. But it's okay, because he's in love. Maybe. At least, that's what he's been telling Skye, but really he's there because Garrett wants to know where her alien DNA comes from. Eventually, Skye learns the truth and tries to run away, but she's stopped by the Terminator, our old friend Mike Peterson. Turns out he's been through a lot. After S.H.I.E.L.D. stopped him from exploding, he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. But then his son got kidnapped and he got trapped in an explosion. Then he came back with more of the formula that made him strong, a robot eye and leg, and a super cool code name, Deathlock. No, Deathlock. Fortunately, the good guys show up and save Skye, and now they all know that Ward is evil. Except for Fitz, because he's a good person who wants to believe Ward was his friend, because Fitz is the best. But now all our bad guys are working together. Ward, Garrett, Deathlock, Reyna, and Quinn. Yeah, remember them? Together, this evil team plans to sell robots to the military and save Garrett because he's dying. The Fiends! Eventually, the bad guys save Garrett, who turns out is also a cyborg, by injecting him with the same formula Coulson took, but if you recall, it makes you go crazy if you don't have your memory erased, so Garrett goes even crazier. Meanwhile, Fitz attempts to turn Ward back to the side of good with the power of love. It does not work.
You're right. I do. It's a weakness.
What a prick. Fitz, being the best character, gallantly sacrifices himself to save Simmons and confesses he loves her. Fortunately, Fitz survives when he and Simmons are rescued by Sam Mother effing Jackson. Unfortunately, Fitz is left in a coma that keeps him out of the show until next season. But the rest of our heroes gather together to save the day. Ward is captured by May, Deathlock turns good again, and Reyna and Quinn escape with the Gravitonium, and I'm sure we will never see them again. And Garrett gets curb stomped by Deathlock and then blown away. Pretty metal. And so, the day is saved, but Fury decides to stay dead for some reason and officially makes Coulson the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. End of Season 1. So, how many more of these do we have to go through? 5? Okay. Season 2. Coulson has rebuilt S.H.I.E.L.D. in secret. Skye is now a fully trained agent thanks to May, Simmons has gone undercover in Hydra, and Fitz woke up. But because of the brain damage he suffered, he now has a stammer, absolutely no filter, and he's imagining Simmons talking to him. We also get some new members, like Mac, the second best goddamn character in this show, who must also be protected no matter what, because he's awesome, and likes to quote movies. There's also the Koenigs, a series of identical siblings who are all played by the same actor, and may or may not be robots. And this lovely couple, Bobby Morse, and her ex-husband, Lance Hunter. They bicker. And that's everybody. Oh, right. Yeah, they got Ward locked up in the basement. He claims he's a good guy now, but he's a liar. Meanwhile, because his memories came back, Coulson is starting to go crazy like Garrett, and now goes into weird trances where he draws blueprints for an ancient city. Meanwhile, Hydra is now being run by this guy, Dr. Whitehall. He worked for Hydra back in World War II, but regained his youth by dissecting this woman, Jiaying, who had a healing factor like Wolverine. Anyway, he wants to find the city in Coulson's head because it will make him really powerful and stuff. Meanwhile, Raina's back, and it turns out she knows Skye's dad. His name is Cal, and he's a doctor who experimented with a lot of drugs and gave himself enhanced strength. All he wants to do is be reunited with his daughter, and destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. for taking her away in the first place. Yeah, it turns out Jiaying, the Wolverine lady, was Skye's mom, and when Whitehall abducted her, he was working in the secretly part of Hydra division of S.H.I.E.L.D. Eventually, all the secrets come out. Turns out both Raina and Skye are descended from a race of aliens called the Kree, and the remains of a dead Kree was the source of Coulson's crazy Healy formula. Cal teams up with Whitehall to find the city in Coulson's vision, while meanwhile Ward escapes from S.H.I.E.L.D. and hooks up with Agent 33, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent brainwashed by Whitehall and given a cool face-changing mask. Eventually Skye, Raina, and Trip make their way into the hidden alien city, while Coulson kills Whitehall and makes Cal really angry. Then we get a whole lot of bad news, good news. Good news, Skye, Raina, and Trip find a magic crystal. Bad news, the crystal explodes into mist and kills Trip. Good news, Skye and Raina survive and get superpowers. Bad news, Raina also turns into a scary hedgehog person, and Skye can level mountains with earthquake powers. Good news, Jiaying is alive. Bad news, turns out Mac and Bobby were working for a separate version of S.H.I.E.L.D. called The Real S.H.I.E.L.D. Lame. Anyways, while Skye goes and learns how to control her powers with her mom, S.H.I.E.L.D. and The Real S.H.I.E.L.D. go to war. But fortunately, it gets resolved when robots try to take over the world. Wow, I can't wait to see that. What? It happens in a separate movie? Okay. Real S.H.I.E.L.D. is super impressed with the way Coulson helped save the world off-screen, and teams up with the regular S.H.I.E.L.D. to become S.H.I.E.L.D. for real. Nah, just S.H.I.E.L.D., but I wanted to make a joke. So, now that all of that has been taken care of, it's time to pick Skye up from her superpowers summer camp. While there, Skye learns her people were created by the Kree experimenting on humans, making them inhuman. Sounds like a cool idea for a TV series. Skye hooks up with this sexy beefcake named Lincoln. Raina discovers she can see the future, and becomes a good guy, right before Jiaying kills her. Yeah, I guess getting dissected alive and having her daughter abducted made her a little nuts, so now Jiaying wants to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. by exposing them to the superpowered mists, because if you're not an Inhuman, it kills you. Also, the girl May killed turned out to be an Inhuman, but that's not important right now. But it will be later. So, S.H.I.E.L.D. teams up with Cal, who I guess wants a divorce, and stops Skye's crazy mom, but Coulson gets his arm cut off in the process. Rats. Meanwhile, Ward and Agent 33 try to kill Bobby because they blame her for 33 getting brainwashed by Whitehall, but Ward ends up accidentally killing 33 himself and vows revenge. So, the guy who spent the whole season going, "I've changed, I'm a good guy now," ends the season saying, "I'm not changed, I'm still evil. Thanks for wasting our time, jerk." So, Skye erases Cal's memory so he can have a normal life. She decides to start calling herself Daisy Johnson, because that was her birth name. Coulson gets a cool robot hand, and Fitz and Simmons are going to start dating. A happy ending all around. Oh, right. Yeah, at the end of the season, the team discovers this weird rock in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s vaults that Jiaying was afraid of for some reason. Simmons starts studying it, and it suddenly teleports her to another planet called Maviv, where she meets some new friends. Like this evil astronaut ghost thing, this evil plant monster, and this handsome devil. His name is Will, and he's been stuck on the planet since 2001. He was sent through a part of a NASA program that was secretly run by an evil organization known as Hydra? I thought we were done with these guys! No, it turns out the evil Nazi mad scientist Hydra was actually a spin-off of a different organization, an evil cult of the rich and powerful who worship a being called Hive, aka Scary Astronaut Thing. Anyways, in Season 3, after 6 months, Fitz finally figures out how the monolith works and uses it to rescue Simmons, but leaves Will behind. Whoops. Things have been going fairly well for S.H.I.E.L.D. Daisy has way more control over her powers thanks to these cool gloves, Bobby and Lance got back together, and May took some time off to try to patch things up with her ex-husband Andrew. It didn't work out. Mostly because of these fish oil pills that keep turning people into Inhumans. S.H.I.E.L.D's been busy trying to round up the Inhumans and help them control their powers, but there's some problems. Ward is trying to rebuild the Nazi version of Hydra and recruited this guy, Werner, the son of that guy from that one part of Age of Ultron. The US government has created a new organization to also round up the Inhumans called the ATCU. And it turns out May's ex left because he turned into an Inhuman that sucks the life force out of other Inhumans. We call him Lash. Meanwhile, Daisy, and Coulson have been building a team of Inhumans, including Daisy, Lincoln, this guy Joey who can melt metal, and this badass chick named Elena, who Mac has a crush on. She can run really fast, but always has to return to whatever spot she started in, which sounds like a bizarre rule, but it leads to Mac giving her the adorable nickname of Yo-Yo. So who cares? So Coulson ends up meeting the leadership of the ATCU, which includes this woman named Rosalind Price, and a man named Gideon Malik, who is the leader of the cult NASA version of Hydra, and has been helping Ward rebuild the evil Nazi version. NASA Nazi. Coulson discovers that the ATCU is actually abducting Inhumans and giving them to Malik. He confronts Rosalind about it, but it turns out she actually has no idea, and she has a crush on Coulson, and they become a couple. Aww. You know, between Coulson and Price, Mac and Yo-Yo, Hunter and Bobby, Daisy and Lincoln, Fitzsimmons, and even May and Andrew, I guess you could call Season 3 the Season of Love. I hope it ends well.
Rosalind?
Oh, yeah. For a recap, I'm forgetting a lot. So, Ward kills Price, and that makes Coulson very angry, so he teams up with Bobby and Lance to get revenge. Meanwhile, NASA Hydra learns Fitz figured out how to open the portal to Maveth and forces him to do it so they can bring Hive home. While Daisy and the Super Friends rescue Simmons, Fitz and Ward go through the portal with Coulson in hot pursuit. Things don't go well. They find Will, but he's been possessed by Hive, so Fitz has to kill him. Because he was evil, not because he slept with Simmons, no way. Coulson, meanwhile, ends this series-spanning arc when he finally kills Ward, with a bad touch. Wow, that was a pretty intense season finale. What? It's not even half over? So yeah, it turns out Hive managed to hitch a ride in Ward's corpse, and now he's back on Earth with plans to take over the world. Which he could very well accomplish because A, he's teamed up with Malik, B, he's a shape-shifting squid monster that eats people to heal himself, and C, he can control Inhumans. Well, it's a good thing we don't have any of those lying around. But before he can do anything, we have to make some new friends. Well, technically these guys were already existing, but they were minor villains. Now, they're minor good guys. First off, this guy, Talbot. He was around in Season 1 when he was in charge of hunting down S.H.I.E.L.D. because of the whole Nazi thing. But now him and Coulson are sort of friends. He's been put in charge of the ATCU now, and after S.H.I.E.L.D. rescues his son from Malik, he becomes slightly less douchey. He also has a bodyguard named Creel, aka the Absorbing Man. He can turn his body into whatever material he's touching. He was introduced at the start of Season 2 when he was working for Hydra and tried to abduct Talbot. But now they're best friends because, as we saw with Agent 33, Hydra has brainwashing tech and Creel was under their control. Despite acting pretty autonomously during that point, but whatever, he's a good guy now, and apparently an Inhuman? Even though he reacted badly to a rock containing the mist? Whatever, not important. What is important is Simmons thinks this could create a cure for Inhumans who haven't gotten their powers yet. And it never gets brought up again. Anyway, time to say goodbye to some friends. Yeah, unfortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D. accidentally found itself in an international incident while fighting an evil Russian Inhuman, and Bobby and Hunter decided to take the fall, meaning they will now be followed by the CIA for the rest of their lives and can never work with S.H.I.E.L.D. again. It sounds awful, I know, but at least they get their own spin-off. Really? Not even out of the pilot phase? And now Bobby's in space? Oh well. At least it led to a fun solo adventure where Mac fought some KKK wannabes called the Watchdogs and created the greatest weapon known to man.
Shotgun axe.
I want one. But now, back to the main plot. Daisy meets this guy, Charles Hinton, an Inhuman who has the power to see how a person dies by touching them. Naturally, this kind of messed him up, and he's become homeless after leaving his wife and daughter. Her name is Robin, and she's going to be important later on, so don't forget her. Daisy tries to rescue him when he gets captured by Hydra, but instead, he sacrifices himself to save Daisy. But before he dies, he accidentally gives Daisy a vision of a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent dying with a cross. One that belongs to Helena. You know, Yo-Yo. So with that hanging over her, it's time for Daisy and her Inhumans, the Secret Warriors, trademark, to kick some ass. Which they proceed to do. They even capture Malik and find out Hive is on Earth and inside of Ward. Wait, doesn't Hive have the powers to control Inhumans? Oh shit! Yep, Daisy has gone bad, and Malik has bit the dust. But they were able to use his resources to finally wipe Hydra off the map. So, yay! I hope they don't show up next season. Meanwhile, Hive, Daisy, and a bunch of Inhumans team up to help Hive take over the world. To that end, they recruit this guy, Holden Radcliffe, a mad scientist who wants to improve the human race through mechanics and biology. He wants Radcliffe to recreate the original Inhuman experiment and turn the whole world into Inhumans. Unfortunately, he needs Kree blood to make that happen. Fortunately, this Inhuman named JT, who can superheat whatever he touches, happens to have this device that belongs to Jiaying. It can summon 2 Kree Reapers who are the ones who attempted the original experiment. So, S.H.I.E.L.D. goes in to stop Hive's plan and manages to prevent either of the Kree from having their blood used, and Mac, who had become really close with Daisy this season after the two became field partners, attempts to turn her away from Hive with the power of love. It does not work. What does work, however, is predetermined genetics, baby. All throughout the season, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been talking about how Inhumans weren't just born, they were designed. For example, Hive was designed to be a commander, a general, but he went power crazy, so he was banished to Maveth. In contrast, our old pal Lash was designed to be a cure for Hive's control, which he does, and saves Daisy. But this unfortunately leads to him being killed by JT. Man, May cannot catch a break. First she kills a kid, then she leaves her husband, then her husband turns into a big blue monster, and then he dies. That just sucks. But hooray! Daisy is a good guy again! Rats, Hive got her blood, which had a transfusion of Kree DNA way back in Season 1, so he can still go forward with his plan. Although, there's a small hiccup. Radcliffe's experiments only turn the test subjects into these savage monkey people, but Hive can still control them, so he decides, screw it, I'ma do it anyway. So, big finale time. S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hive square off, while playing hot potato with Elena's cross, just to keep us guessing. Radcliffe sides with S.H.I.E.L.D. and becomes friends with Fitz. Mac gets to live out every 13-year-old's dream. Hive blows the CGI budget by showing his true face, but Coulson one-ups him by revealing he was CGI too. And Lincoln traps Hive on a plane and flies it into space where it can explode, killing both of them. And just in case you thought there was a chance he'd survive, yeah, that sucks. And that's Season 3. Whew. We're halfway there. Still with me? Okay, good. Here we go! Season 4. Daisy, feeling guilty over everything that happened with Hive, not to mention Lincoln's death, leads her to quit S.H.I.E.L.D., instead becoming a vigilante called Quake. She's off kicking butt against the watchdogs, but S.H.I.E.L.D. is hunting her for being a superhero without a license. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. once again works for the government. But because Coulson still wants the Avengers to think he's dead for some reason, he's decided to step down as director, and has been replaced by a super strong Inhuman named Jeffrey Mace. Mace keeps saying and doing things that make you think he's going to turn out to be evil, but he never actually does. He's actually a pretty good guy, even if he is a little paranoid, but considering the whole Hydra thing, I feel he's got a good reasons to be paranoid. Oh, also he's not really an Inhuman, but shh, that's not important. Meanwhile, Radcliffe is fully working for S.H.I.E.L.D. now, and he's partnered with Fitz to restart a closed-off S.H.I.E.L.D. project called LMD, or Life Model Decoy, creating realistic robots designed to appear human to protect the lives of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. For his first attempt, Radcliffe has downloaded his AI Ada into a body, and I'm sure she's not going to start the robot apocalypse at all. In the meantime, ghosts! Yeah, ghosts are a thing now. Specifically, the ghosts of a group of scientists who are studying this evil book of magic called the Darkhold. Yes, magic. Did I stutter? There is magic now. Deal with it. Anyway, these ghosts were created when they were studying this evil book of magic called the Darkhold, which can do all kinds of vaguely defined things. But this heroic engineer named Eli managed to stop them, resulting in an explosion that turned all of them into ghosts and sent Eli to jail. Meanwhile, Daisy is teamed up with Eli's nephew, Robbie Reyes, who, after being in a car accident caused by gangsters shooting at him and his little brother Gabe, made a deal with the devil apparently, and has become the superhero Ghost Rider, who believes he will be released from his curse if he destroys the ghosts. So, after some back and forth and betrayals and reunions, Daisy, Ghost Rider, and S.H.I.E.L.D. all team up to stop the evil ghosts and get the Darkhold. To do this, they break Eli out of prison, which may have been a mistake because it turns out Eli didn't kill a bunch of people out of the goodness of his heart. He did it because he wanted the power for himself. So he uses the evil magic book to give himself the power to create matter, seemingly from nowhere. And then he banishes Coulson, Robbie, and Fitz to another plane of existence while the Ghost Rider temporarily possesses Mac. The team realizes they can use the Darkhold to rescue Coulson and the others, but anyone who reads it will go insane. Fortunately, Radcliffe has a robot to the rescue. Ada reveals herself to the team as an android, and is able to use the evil magic book to rescue their friends. The Ghost Rider reforms with Robbie after he promises him a starring role in a spin-off that's never happening. And then they team up to stop Eli from blowing up LA. In the end, Robbie drags Eli to hell, the Darkhold is secured, S.H.I.E.L.D. is seen as heroes and not Nazis, and Daisy rejoins the team. A pretty solid season. What? A third of the way through? Come on! So it turns out making a robot read an evil book may have been a bad thing. Ada secretly kidnaps May and replaces her with a robot duplicate that thinks she's human, and then gets caught trying to steal the Darkhold. This leads to a lot of movie references from Mac as the team tries to stop the robot apocalypse.
Have either one of you seen a movie in the last 30 years? The robots always attack.
Well,
they rise up against their human overlords and go kill crazy. This isn't some Johnny Five we're talking about. This is a bloodthirsty murder bot on the loose. This right here, this is exactly how the Lawnmower Man ends.
Fortunately, it seems the day is saved when Ada is killed, but it turns out she wasn't crazy. Yet. She was being controlled by Radcliffe, because he's gone crazy after briefly glimpsing the Darkhold and has already built a new Ada. Fortunately, it doesn't take S.H.I.E.L.D. too long to figure this out. Unfortunately, by that point, he's teamed up with an anti-Inhuman senator named Nadir and the leader of the Watchdogs, Anton Ivanov. This results in a big kerfuffle where the robot May is outed, and just after she had fallen in love with Coulson. And then the Darkhold ends up in the hands of Ivanov, who hates aliens and thinks Coulson might be one. Because he's crazy. Ivanov ends up kidnapping Mace, so Daisy, Fitz, Mac, and Coulson all go to rescue the director. Mace is rescued, and Daisy seemingly kills Ivanov. Hooray! It turns out Radcliffe's evil scheme isn't really all that evil. He's trying to create a paradise, a virtual reality he calls the Framework. He built it for his girlfriend, who has cancer, so she can live forever alongside him, and he's been testing it out on the imprisoned May, but she keeps waking herself up because she can't believe the Framework's perfection. So Ada has the idea to remove May's guilt of killing the Inhuman child, and then she could be happy. This has some repercussions, but we'll get back to that. You see, Ada has managed to replace Mac, Coulson, Mace, and Fitz with evil LMDs designed to kill everybody. Yeah, I think we're getting close to that robot apocalypse. Because Ada fully believes the Framework is paradise, and because her job is to make people happy, she's decided that everybody needs to be in the Framework, whether they ask to or not. Which does not go well for Radcliffe. Fortunately, Daisy, Simmons, and Elena managed to get most of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agents out before their base explodes, thanks to the May LMD, who was always a good guy and in love with the real Coulson, not a robot. No robo. The remaining team realizes the only way to rescue their friends from the Framework is to go in and get them. So while Daisy and Simmons enter the Matrix, Yo-Yo guards their bodies on a plane while they try to hide from Ada and Ivanov. Oh yeah, he's not dead. He's now a head in a jar with an army of robots. Cue the Terminator music. Dun 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 dun. It turns out the Framework isn't the paradise it was cracked up to be. Oh sure, at first it seems nice, because it granted everyone their deepest desires. You know, Mac's daughter Hope, who died as a baby, is now alive and making her own movie references. Coulson became a teacher rather than a spy. Mace is a real Inhuman. Fitz is extremely successful and has a close relationship with his father, who in the real world was a drunk asshole who abandoned Fitz as a child, and May never killed that Inhuman girl. Except, that's where things go horribly wrong. You see, that kid had mind control powers and was kind of insane. May killing her, while awful, was the best version of events because in this reality, she causes a horrible incident at an elementary school that causes a whole bunch of people to die. This leads to Hydra revealing themselves to the world and taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. publicly, where, true to form, they have been oppressing the people, hunting at humans, and basically being awful. You know, Nazis. Daisy and Simmons aren't having a good time of things either. Simmons wakes up at a mass grave of all the S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy students who refuse to side with Hydra, while Daisy is called Skye again, and works for Hydra, and happens to be dating Ward. Except, in an ironic twist, this version of Ward is genuinely a good guy. In the framework's reality, Ward was recruited by a dedicated S.H.I.E.L.D. agent rather than a secret Hydra one. So he was trained with all the morals a good agent should have, and has secretly been helping the Resistance fight Hydra. And while Ward is a good guy now, Fitz is something else entirely. He is now the Doctor, Hydra's top scientist, and a remorseless sociopath. He's also sleeping with his boss, Madame Hydra, aka Ophelia, aka Ada. It seems somehow the framework gave Ada more autonomy because she's made herself queen of the world and had Radcliffe and his girlfriend stowed away on an island. She's also convinced Fitz that the framework is a real world and the normal reality is an evil invading force that at one point abducted and enslaved Ophelia. Fitz does not take that well, so when Daisy and Simmons attempt to recruit Radcliffe to their plan, the Doctor murders Radcliffe's girlfriend and locks him up. Now Fitz is dissecting Inhumans and using notes in the Darkhold so he can create a machine that will allow himself and Ophelia to enter the other world, aka give Ada a real body. So it seems Daisy and Simmons have the work cut out if they want to rescue their friends. Fortunately, some good things happen. May is just as miserable in the framework as she was in real life, maybe even more so because she doesn't have Coulson to make her smile. So she decides, screw this, and exposes Skye to the mists and gives her powers back. Meanwhile, Daisy was able to convince the incredibly nerdy teacher Coulson that the world is fake, thanks in part to his mind having been affected by Tahiti. It is a magical place. And he joins the Resistance, which is being led by Mace. While Daisy and Simmons are unable to convince Mac his daughter is fake, he does still join up with the Resistance, so now all they need to do is get Fitz, and everything will be hunky-dory. Yeah. Sorry, Mace. At least you died being a hero. Simmons tries to find Fitz by talking to his virtual dad. It goes poorly. So yeah, now Fitz wants to kill Simmons with a great ferocity. Realizing the Matrix is getting old, the team travels to a back door out of the framework Radcliffe designed, and Daisy, May, and Coulson are all able to go home and wake up in their bodies. But before Simmons goes, she tries to reach out to Fitz with the power of love. It does not work.
I am nothing to you. Say it!
What does work is Radcliffe sneaking up from behind and conking Fitz on the head. This allows him to push Fitz through the portal after apologizing for all the harm he caused after seeing the Darkhold. With that, Fitz gets sent home, where he's going to have a lot of PTSD. But Simmons escapes as well, so at least he'll have his girlfriend to help him. And with that, the whole living team is free. Well, except for Mac, who decides to stay in the framework and be with his daughter. But Yo-Yo says he's not getting out of the series that easy and goes in after him. Meanwhile, the Doctor's machine worked, and Ada was reborn in the real world, with a human body, human emotions, and inhuman powers, making her basically immortal. Fortunately, Fitz convinces her to use her powers to help save Mac's body from Ivanov. Unfortunately, he makes the traumatized, inspired decision to break up with her right after, and she does not take it well. She teams up with Ivanov with an evil plan to use the Darkhold to make the framework become reality, and they do that by using a Daisy robot to assassinate Talbot? I mean, the plan is evil, but they don't really explain how the Darkhold ties into it. And considering they wanted to make the framework a reality, why did they start deleting it? Oh, yeah. Say goodbye to Good Ward and Mac's daughter, everyone in the framework gets deleted, including Radcliffe, which was really sad. Yo-Yo tries to convince Mac to leave, but he only does so after Hope disappears. Man, everybody is going to need therapy after this adventure. Fortunately, they're able to stop Ada's evil plan thanks to Deus Ex Machina. Is it still Deus if the help comes from the devil? Regardless, Ghost Rider's back. And with his help, they're able to get the Darkhold away from Ivanov. They're pretty sure he has the power to kick Ada's butt, but there's no way she'd let him get close. Fortunately, Coulson comes up with a plan, and realizes all Ada needed was a hug. Of death! So, Mac is back, Ada has been the dust, and Ghost Rider heads off to continue negotiating that spin-off. If it wasn't for the fact that the world thinks S.H.I.E.L.D. tried to kill Talbot and Fitz is traumatized, I'd call this a happy ending. But it's not, and the season ends with this weird bald guy showing up, freezing the team, and taking them away.